Good morning, everybody. Good morning. We are at the festive season right now. A lot of jolly mood. I suppose those of you who are going to celebrate Hari Raya, that's right, Selamat Hari Raya to all our Muslim friends. Today, the market will only be open up to 12 noon, and after 12 noon, it is already holiday. So I'm sure you can feel the festive mood. But unfortunately, with the MCO 3.0, kita tidak boleh balik kampung, including many of us who are stuck in the Klang Valley. Here we are, in the Klang Valley. And right today, I do know today the entire Malaysia, I think West and East Malaysia, will be under MCO. Definitely something that we did not hope for, but let's stay safe and stay calm, everybody. Make sure we keep the numbers are down. And I heard also there are many new variants are coming into our country, India. And for those of you who are registered for the vaccine in Selangor and Wilayah, please make sure you get to the schedule. All right, this morning we definitely have something for everybody, and let's get updated, shall we? Now, today is Wednesday, which is the 12th of May in here, and usually on 12th of May, we usually look at what? We look at the intermediate level, and the stocks today will be those already trending up, and usually we call them in a stage 2 of the market, right? And also looking at the chart setup and some new sentiment in here. And for those of you who want me to review some shares, definitely put it in there. I'm happy to look into it, but do take note, we also like, if you do a good job, do give us a feedback on our Google Play Store and also Apple Play Store, and preference will be given to you for that one. But don't forget, the Bursa is closed on Thursday, which is tomorrow, the first day of Hari Raya, and also on Friday. So we will be back only next Monday. That's right, next Monday. So we take a good rest in here. And those of you who are sort of have more time, perhaps this week, you can look at the US market in here. And the US market will be turned on today at 4 p.m. when the data will be updated. So you can see on the top side of it, you have KLSE. You can see from this chart here. So we intend to turn it on when the SMARTRobie get updated. All right, let's look at what do we have for you in our KLSE Bursa News Roundup. Definitely first, before we go into that, we like to talk about the free giveaway that we are doing, the iPad giveaway, and also 50 vouchers, 50 ringgit grab for those first submission. Any of your submission, as long as a real trade, submit in there. There are some a WhatsApp number in there. Just snapshot your trade, and this idea is from SMARTRobie in here. And even if you don't win the iPad, you will at least get 50 ringgit grab voucher in here. So make sure you do that first 50 submission. All right, just do that in here, and you'll definitely get something for this festive season. And though a good one will definitely win that iPad. All right, do join our iPad giveaway campaign in here. All right, let's look on to what we have in our news headline this morning in here. Definitely MCO 3.0. Now, MCO 3.0 is waiting a lot on the stock market. I do get this from our member as well, some of our public. Why are Panda dropping? Why are Globetronics dropping? Why are Inari dropping? Why are JFTech dropping? And partly is this that you see in here, the MCO 3.0. My take is this should be temporarily, at least for 1 month. And also at the same time, I think many of you know, which I will talk about in the later slide, so make sure you don't go away, is the US influence to our tech sectors in here. Regionally, we have a big drop. If you can see from here, let me just bring out the laser pointer. And you can see Taiwan dropped 3%, Japan dropped 3%, Hang Seng dropped 2%. And this morning, I haven't checked yet whether we've seen a recovery. But in the US market, we did see a bit of pullback. Market did gap down last night. Apple gapped down, but closes only a small stops. I do think, my opinion on the Nasdaq, we are very close to the bottom in here. A lot of this inflation news will be coming out tonight, and we will look at the US market as we turn. But if you look from the news in here, the impact of MCO 3.0, that is the question that many of us are really talking about, whether the prolonged beyond the June 3rd or the June 4th, we will continue to see the MCO 3.0. The numbers, if you look from the COVID, we are going to hit the old high around 5,005, maybe just short of 6,000 there. And so far the numbers have been down, but always look at the average, 7 days average of the COVID cases. That's what tells you in here. Now, the research house also stated MCO estimated any SPO prolonged will shave 0.3 from our GDP growth in 5.7 to 5.7 in 2021. So going beyond June 7 will be the thing. And right now, usually any big MCO, the government has to come out and issue a bit more bantuan aid to all the SME as well. Those of you who probably lose job, especially those in the restaurant and travel when they are about to open, shut down lagi. All right, so that's how is it. Now, on the side of the MCO 3.0, let's go back a bit more and look at what we had previously in our market is the GDP growth. Now remember, when we look at this GDP growth, this news that you see, we are looking almost 3 months ago. MCO 3.0 is happening right now, so which means something very similar to the GDP news will come in next 3 months from now. So take a note of it. All news that we talk about here always come in perspective. The question is the timeline. Remember, the stock market always take in front, not the behind. So this news GDP growth that you see is already 3 months ago or maybe 6 months ago, depending on the context in here. So all this already been priced in. So right now, this is good to know that having said that, if you look from the chart here, we had the COVID-19 where the market fell GDP growth, almost minus 17.1%. If you look at 2020, it was a 5.6%. 2019 was a 4.3%. So this year, 2021, we are looking somewhere between 6 to 7.5%, which is considered very good growth in there, right? But again, you may ask, why isn't the stock market going any higher? And partly that is got to do with, in my opinion, will be the foreign funds coming in. Is the foreign fund buying this story, one of the GDP growing between 6 to 7.5%? What do you think? Give me your opinion there. And second, will the election, all right, the general election 15, when the Darurat or declaration of emergency that ends on the first week of August, will there be a prolonged same thing with it? But I do see if the MCO 3.0 get prolonged, because although COVID cases, there may be another extension to that emergency, and that's why our market seems to be muted. Let's take a look at our market this morning in here, and we'll look in here. Let's type in the KLSE market this morning, switching to a wider chart here, and you can see this morning it is still resistant, 1580, so it is down 3 points in here, 1574. And what are those most active one in here? We have Focus, G Ocean, M Touch, all the usual penny stocks in here. Gainer was T Ocean, Vitrox, Quality, DNO started to make back up move again. Very good. DNO is one of the so-called silver lining among the tech stocks, partly because of the automotive industry in here. And I personally believe the smart money also seems to be driving this up. Early on, we did see also public bank being one of the big gainer because of the news that I was going to share with you shortly. All right, so that is where we have. And let's look at the KLCI chart in here. And also, we always keep in mind, we have a red Pentagon only last week. Right now, it is yellow trend zone. You can see the yellow trend zone here usually denote that market likely to go down or sideways. But I do think if we break around the 1560, we're going down. Having said that, the GDP growth that we've seen on the just top of me here isn't that bad. So that tells you the market could not make much of a movement going higher. It's just going to move sideways, and we have to see where we go in here. Definitely remember, right, this GDP growth that you see on top of you is a lagging indicator, right? The chart is the right one. So if the chart start to move out, breaking above the 1620 that you see on the top side there, then this GDP will probably in 3 months or 6 months going to go higher. That's usually the case is. So Martin, what you're saying is that if the market break through 1620, then that 6% to 7.5% will come true. Yes, that is what I mean. But I have not seen the chart does that yet. If the chart can do that, then likelihood in 2021, which we'll get this somewhere down in September or in October 2021, then that 6% will come true. So that's why one of the things I really want to share with you, the audience in here, is how to recognize that this GDP growth that you usually see on our media and how to play this in the market, so you won't be dung like it. So we at the professional and the institutional, usually we look at this in this many in way. So 1620, 1640 is the next two resistance that the market will break. Certainly, I don't think the market's going to go lower because we have a very, very strong spring. You can see that. SP that happens between the 2nd of May and the 9th of May. So that seems to be holding that base inside here. But going forward, no push, especially this week with the festive high season that we come. So the market tend to be very, very sleepy because they don't know the next 2 days when the market is closed, how would the US market and the regional market has an impact to us. All right, let's move on to our next news. Now, next news is going to be on the oil and gas. We've seen a lot of pickup in the oil and gas, and also the big hack that we see in US, that the pipeline that impact a lot of the gasoline in the so-called the east side of US has it. So that will somehow impact the oil in here. Now, if you look at Dayang in here, there is some talks about the pickup, okay, on the earnings. Let's hit Dayang here, and let me just show you the chart. Okay, switching to a bigger chart here. So you can see early on this news is already been priced in. This smart money fellas already know the pickup seen in the second quarterly earning, and that's what we hit, $1.50. And let's look at this morning in here about some new project that the Dayang has made inside here. All right, and let's look at first. We've seen that's a Dayang chart here. Let's look at the stock price this morning for Dayang, and you can see Dayang is up 2.1%. So that's good. So the pullback that we've seen here seems to be very temporary, and I do think this is pretty good, decent. The fundamentals in here, it's at a sort of dropout already. Okay, the Dayang in here. So right now, you can see top 3 shareholder are Naim, Dato Lim here. So previously, I think it was a better, and the dividend doesn't pay any dividend at all. I think Dialog pays a better dividend for those who want some oil and gas exposure in here. Check out the Dialog on the SMARTRobie in here. So right now, it does look like the FA rating is NA, meaning it very poorly rated in terms of the thing. Now, there is a house call here saying from the Public Invest. If you look here, let me just bring up the laser pointer. Okay, the laser pointer here, and it does say that a target price of 166 and 151. So right now, Dayang, you see here is 146. So we are almost there, right? If you take on the low side for one of the analysts call here at 151, 161, almost there, So again, and technically, if you also look here, you have a resistance at 160. So that's about it lah. How much can it go higher? It's everything being priced in. So sometimes when you look at news that you see on the top side like that, don't just sort of jump in here. It has to do a bit more, okay? And look at the price reaction, especially at the old high that you see here. Let me just pinch it up a bit. You can see it here, and that will be around just short of 160. The price reaction is have to be. Of course, those of you who wanted to take advantage for our last day, today is our last day of our Combo Raya, you can do so 12th of May in here, and then you're able to upgrade to a chart, a real-time chart that you will see shortly. I'm going to show that, and that's pretty good if you're going to be intend to be a active user, right? Of course, if you don't want to and you want to stick to something simple and basic, use the SMARTRobie chart, and it comes with the US S&P 500 right now, which will be launching. But today we'll turn it on and to do a little bit more testing at 4 p.m. Take note of that one. All right. So let's go on to our next news. Our next news is on JF Tech, and JF Tech, being a technology, has post its best quarterly revenue earner. You can see from in here, rose 115% year on year to 3.66 million on the backdrop of a 9.6 million here. Let's look at JF Tech here. Okay, JF Tech. And you can see JF Tech let's look at the stock price first this morning. Okay, so stock price is up 3%. Very good, up 3% in here. That's very good. Okay, let's look at the other thing you want to see is the stock comment and stock chart. So you can see stock from comment, stock chart. And if you look at the chart wise in here, let me just pinch it up. Again, smart money, they're pretty smart about all these things. If you look in terms of hindsight, okay, let me just bring this up. In hindsight, they're pretty smart on these things. Okay, let me just close this again. Okay, I'm not getting, give me a minute here. Okay, I'll bring up the chart again. Seems to be a little bit of issue this morning here. Okay, now you can see it, right? Make it a bit smaller. Well, just matter of resizing it. That's it. Okay, we are back. So let's look at the chart wise. As I said before, usually you have this what we call the smart money coming early. You'll notice on the 25th of May, they do know this kind of result. It shoots out here and start to distribute, and the market comes out because on the background of a weaker tech stocks. Earlier we talked about this in here, and even at this surge today we see on the stock price that we have, which is up 3.1%. I do think going the next few days, profit taking is likely because the what we call the market. But then again, if you're longer term, it's okay to hold this, but you just sort of trade through the market, then you might just want to look for other shares. And how do we find them? Use the hot sectors. That's right, use the hot sector, which we'll talk about it next. Now let's look at the next news that we have for you. It's no other than Public Bank, the big heavyweight. Now Public Bank this morning came out and posted the first quarterly profit, and despite all the challenges that it sees in here, the revenue fell 8.8% year on year to 5 billion. Compared to last year is 5.5. I'm just reading from up here. More importantly was the net profit rose. Okay, and they're able to do that on the backdrop of the recovering market COVID cases. So having said that, the news they say here is that the bottom line, the Public Bank continue to do very well because they're very efficient, very cost efficient, among one of the biggest domestic banks. Coming also from Islamic banking and higher fee and commission income falling with that. But having said that, it remains to be challenged. Now remember, as long as the Bank Negara maintain the interest rate at the currently 1.75, right, then you will see bank stocks will do well. But if you take note, those of you who have the trading view on the US side, take a look at all the banking sectors. Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, and even in Singapore, all right, DBS and OCBC Bank, they are doing very, very well. What does that mean? Give you a hint. So generally, if you look at the bank stocks regionally are doing well, especially in the context of US and also Singapore, which means Malaysia will have to play catch up. So if Malaysian finance sector will play catch up, and you will see that pops up on the hot sector, then Public Bank will move. Now, how do I know that? Let's go on to Public Bank here, and if we type that Public Bank, right, you can see from a chart wise, okay, stock comment and stock chart. And you can see the banks. What is this telling you, right? This one, right? Public Bank is going down. Correct. No. So it has to play catch up, very, very similar to something I talked about last week. You'll remember those shares, right? And that was the bonus, which I'm going to talk about in the further slide. So don't go away. So this does tells you that the banking stocks currently is taking a hit because, to be frank with you, our Malaysian market currently are driven by retail. Retail are like, just like a rubber glove, they will in and out. Right? Eventually, once they discover, hey, the US are moving, the US banking, the Singapore are banking. Hey, our Malaysian stock will follow, and then everybody jump in. Once everybody jump in, the sector will move up. Why? It's because it's retail driven. The retailer will sort of move wherever there is trend. And that's what's happening here. But if you are smart, like many of us who have charting tools like this and understand what I've just talked about in here, get in, and look at Public Bank right now, the fundamentals in here. All right, fundamentals. And you could see it does pay, it's not highly rated. Having said that, the PE of 15 times, ROE of 11, not too bad actually. If you look at it, sector average is 11.1. It is pretty much there, slightly in par with the sector, but the dividend is pretty good, 3.57, and that's something really I feel that this is really good insight here. And of course, you can see the top shareholders. Okay, as of the annual report, 31st of March, is Consolidated, probably the owner, Tay Hong Piao, which is one of the founder, and EPF in here. So little hint on the finance sectors. You know what to do in right now. Perhaps you can just submit that stock if you want to get some public bank over longer run. Those of you who's looking for a lot of yield, this banking stocks 3.5% seems to be a very, very safe bet. All right, let's move on to our next news. So our next news is on focusing on the US market. That's right. Now, last night the Dow came off, from the old high, and partly also if you look back at the chart wise, especially those of you who have TradingView, open up an account in TradingView. Simply all this information is available there. It did hit a resistance of 35,000 in here and form a sign of weakness. Sign of weakness is one of those uptrust bars. Again, later on the slides, I have some information for those of you, especially first time watching. Okay. And also market is pricing in because of the fear of inflation in here, right? And tonight there will be some announcement from the US FOMC with regards to the inflation, because currently they are just doing bond buying at cap at 120 billion for the next couple of months. That's 120 billion per month. So what does that mean? It means that in order to downplay the fear of inflation, they have to increase the buying cap, right? Federal Reserve, they increase the buying cap to at least 140, 160 billions, right? What we have in here. Then that gives some sort of assurance in the market that, hey, the US FOMC is really concerned about the inflation. They are buying more, and they're going to push down that inflation target, and that will intend to push down also the US 10-year yield bond, which will push up all the technology stocks. And that's where all your JF Tech, Inari was going to come back. If you don't see that, that's where it's going to be. So some of the things I share with the audience in here, you kind of see the relationship between what we have from the US. And once you know that, that is why turning on the US S&P 500 will give you a lot of advantage how to trade between these two markets. And definitely going forward, a lot has been said about our ringgit versus the US dollar. What do you think? Do you think our ringgit is going to be stronger? Despite what they say, about the oil and things like that, it never ever happened. We are still back to 4.1 to 4.10. Hopefully we don't get up to, with the 4.2. Right now with the MCO 3.0, I don't think our ringgit will get any stronger. Remember also on the backdrop of our industry, a lower ringgit compared to US dollar will help our export base inside there. And I think it's also in the best interest with that. So this thing about strengthening ringgit, take it with a pinch of salt. Going forward, our country needs a lot of aid. They'll be issuing a lot of sukuk bonds to pay up for the vaccine that we have. And you can see also right now the recovery of those assets that was sort of dwindled away during the 1MDB. They're coming in around 20 over billions inside there. So in terms, our country really need those cash in here. And much has been said. I think you can make your own decision about where the ringgit is going forward in here. Do I say this makes sense? If it does, give me a thumbs up. All right, let's move on to our next sort of notable news in here, which came out on the Edge CEO this morning here. Worthwhile to talk about it is this man that, my fascination with this man go back almost 10-15 years ago when I first started coming to the stock market. So Weng running the Omega Securities right at the Shah Alam, and usually have his cup of coffee in Subang Jaya. Then in 2008, 2009, he has a failing with the KLSE. They couldn't push so much with it, so he went over to Singapore SG and done a bit of stock market, a bit of what we call dealing in over there, and got caught with the monetary MAS, and now in all sorts of problem. You can see in here John So here faced 188 charges. He's going to be in jail for the rest of his life. I think he's almost 60 plus. No doubt this man, like it or not, he's not in for the money, he's in for the game. You can see that. I love doing deals. All right, pretty interesting to read. And this is sort of the background you should know when we go into the stock market. Some of these smart monies, they already have so much money in here. And a very famous one, smart money player, I think you all know who I'm talking about, right? A very elderly so-called person in here. We all need to study these people. I think it's also very important. The groups, the institutional, what make them tick. And when you study them, then you pretty much understand how the stock price movement, and that's going to slowly come down to the price and volume. So it's our interest. We really want to do this kind of study, and then it helps us to understand the market better. Something will put you at an advantage. Again, it is part and parcel of the education that we want to do here to make sure you bring up your level to become trained trader and trained investor. That's right. All right. So let's move on to our leaderboard for our past issue. For our intermediate trade idea in here, definitely we have the more recent one. We have MY News hit up at 38%, but it has pulled back a bit. Same goes for LC Titan, Hector. But the last week, remember the plantation shares, which I want to share with you right now here. If you look here, let's go over to the hot Robie, go over to the hot sectors just on top of me in here. All right, we just have to wait for that to come. And you can see Hector, THS has actually moved up nicely in here. So let's do the, yep, that's right. So plantation, industrial, healthcare, Translogic, energy are those stocks seems to be in play. So last week, we were hit, and that's why you see THS, it's up 10%. And Taan, which is also a play on timber. Remember, we talked about timber, isn't it? Timber on Monday seems to be doing very well. A lot of timber prices are going up in there. I think this is... So let's look at some of these stocks that we have, and I'm going to bring up the active chart here. Okay. So you can see right now, the MCO 3.0, I was looking at all the rubber stock. They're coming back. They're not dying, okay? They're definitely not dying, but definitely they hit the ATR stop loss, but they're coming back. That means this market's likely going to move sideways. All right, let's look at the first one, Taan. That was the, and you can see Taan hit new high and then drop off and then holding up in here. So next one is the, one of the better plantation stocks, also very similar, right? You can see this one hits again, whenever you see upthrust, take out of the upthrust is a strong thing. But if you can't break through the upthrust, but this morning the market is back, and I think the plantation sectors will have a little bit push more going forward. I think the trend will last for another week or two. All right. So that is THS. And we have also Pecca, which was picked up on the 28th of October. All right, continue to move up very nicely. You can see if you have Pecca right below here, that is about 160. Now it's already $4. And to me, this is one of the darling, of the KLSE. How we have done so well in here, it's really mind-boggling. Even if you look in terms of the P, let's look at Pecca right now in terms of how expensive this stock is. So let's switch to a wider chart here. Okay, we got Pecca, and let's look at the stock fundamentals, and you can see definitely the PE of 80 times. That's right, on this side of the chart here. The average sector is about 39. So that basically tell you how expensive this stock has gone up. And you only pay 1% dividend. Actually, that yield seems to be incoming less as you bought this. So this is more of a trend play. And we have highlighted a few times on Pecca. There were a couple of entries coming in, and the last one was 28th of April. So if you have it, continue to run it in here. I think money are made by running your stocks. Don't try to get in and out. I think these are some of the things we shared a lot in our educational program and many of our course that we teach you to be smarter, part and part agenda to be trained trader and trained investor. All right, let's move on to next slide that we have for you in here. Is intermediate idea for 12th of May, episode 69, IJMPLNT and CBIP. Remember, IJMPLNT is another plantation stocks we picks up from the plantation, and CBIP is also construction in here. So let's look at IJM first. That's corporation, IJMPLNT in here, and picks up. You got upthrust. So there was no follow through the upthrust. Let's see how well this thing will fare when we come back next week. All right, that's CBIP. Okay, CBIP also pretty good, and very important, these are the schematic which, very quickly I'm just going to flash down in the next 2 slides inside here. Look at the chart formation, right? You have low volume in here, then the volume came, you got a bit of climatic volume, the market pullback is holding up in here, and CBIP, we have this long period congestion, allows the smart money to have time to accumulate before pushing up higher in here. So this is something that's good. And if you look from the chart on the right hand side there are the what we call sign, strength, sign of weakness. Those are things that you should take note of as the market climb higher, to study them time and time again. All right, so let's go on to the next that we have for you in here is the news. All right, let's study our news this morning in here. Back to the KLSE news. Okay, the news is negative. How smart SMARTRobie is. It's able to study the news inside here. The trade falls, close in red, and MRCB seems to be in the news, but Pentagon is still red. Public Bank is red, okay, but it records the first quarter net profit of 1.5 billion. Axiata is investing 200. Dayang, okay, those are the news, and they did pick up the same news as the newspaper able to pick up. So SMARTRobie is pretty smart, I would say. And those are Dayang seems to be the positive one in here. So how do you want to use this? What we call news discovery is sort of know how the news will impact the charts. Remember, many of the news is always lagging, and the way they use this is to distribute under the disguise of good news. Always take note of that one. All right. So let's go on to the next that we have for you is our Pentagon Strategy. Continue to update you, to motivate you to try to hit what we did in 2020, 106% return on the top of 35,000. So right now we are still at a win rate of 75% with a 15% return from January to May compared to a benchmark of -3%. Now this is kind of important because the question I'm going to be asking you, how is your own portfolio faring compared to the KLCI? Don't compare to the 15%. I think it's pretty unfair to compare, especially if you're not been trained by proper. You just sort of like, yeah, I pick a stock here, I listen to this guru here, and you don't have a systematic way. So the question is, do you do better than -3%? But if you intend to follow a system, and remember, last week in our fundamental basic, many of you came and we're going to give you a special bonus, or those of you who came, we gave you a special one. We talk about the fixed rule, which is from Coach Arif, and that's following that process inside there that allows you to hit that 15% with a win rate of 75%. Is that something that you want? If that's something that you want, then the agenda for the educated investor and trader seems to fall into place. And right now we are doing our last day for our combo royale, something that you kind of think about, would that one, do I want to fit into that, or do I continue to go through and pretty happy with what I have? Maybe I'm doing better than KLCI, then that's fine. Okay, always do a measurement. This is why we try to do in here, is to push you to measure yourself. If you don't measure yourself day in and day out, you're not making money. You must just exit out from the market. Else, it's good to know about this information, but the point is, you got to put your money at your mouth and your actions. Remember your actions. Okay, so that's something. Now let's look at the hot sectors, which we did see earlier on, and here hot sectors here, and definitely the plantation. Let's look at industry. Since we talk about plantation, let's look at industry up here. Plenty of good stocks. Always take note of all things being equal. Look at the green Pentagons. Those who are in the green Pentagon, Dufu, Southern Steel, all the steel stocks are really moving on. You can see the green one, Kobe, is also steel. Then you got Encon, Maestro, Tech Bonds, Chubi, all the steel lah. All your Kawan steel is all up here lah. Okay, all things being equal. So that's pretty good, and just use the individual stocks and go through them during the day, or those of you who have the active stocks who want to use the trading wheel. So something for you who want a real time in here, definitely move up your game. All right, move up your game, and always we talk about this train trader and train investor. All right, let's move on to our next is the what we call the charts. Remember just now I showed you CBIP, right? Let me just bring this up again, and this is what we talk about CBIP, right? And the conceptual maps, we always have this. We continue to show this, is that you notice, right? This, it's sort of like we call the conceptual map. Every chart looks the same and it moves the same. You can see low volume, it'll pick up in here and then start to move up, and that's what we've seen right now for here. So once you train your eye, okay, train your eye, train the brain and the software to recognize these kind of what we call conceptual map, then you're on your way to making good profits. All right, so let's move on to the final part of what we have inside, and this is a QR code for those of you who haven't watched it yet. Do watch it, and we talk about those science, strength, science, winner. And finally, and this one, sorry, is our bonus that we give out last Saturday. That's right. We have, remember on Monday, we said that we will send you a WhatsApp message. Those of you who registered through our Zoom registration in here, we send you a copy of the free bonus. Make sure you get it. And if you have not received, please send. But those of you who didn't put in any mobile number, or you put 0 or 1 or a funny number, unfortunately, I don't think our WhatsApp server will be able to send it to you in here. If you don't have it, do WhatsApp us, and you can see. And if you want more questions about, how was this and that, do reply on the WhatsApp, and we're able to, sort of forward you and service you in many ways. All right. And also, today is the last day for our masterclass Combo Raya in here. Again, we always feel that we wanted to share more and give more to you, that you can understand a lot of what we call the macro and microeconomics indicators, a lot of small events that will impact you, and all the tools that you have. Then the next thing is focusing on the software, which is your brain, all right, and to get into the right mood inside. I think that's more of the message I want to get. You get all the tools, but the support and the constant what we call pushing you to become a trained trader and trained investor. All right. And okay, right now we're going to go on to, of course, thank you to all our supporter and top fans who have been sharing any of the posts. Definitely have given us good review in our Google Play Store as well as in Google Play, and also like us on our Facebook. If you haven't done so, please go ahead and do that. Right now, we will give priority to our feedback users in here. And if you have any of the stocks that you want me to look at, definitely is the time to push on in here, right, for the relatively short week that we have this week, I think. Okay, let's see what who I have today in here. All right, if you want, okay, you look at Hexa. Someone bought Hexa at 123. Okay, let's look at Hexa, HEXZA, 123. Okay, you bought it at 123. Why you buy so high? Okay, 123 is here. Again, going back to here, if you have bought it during the green Pentagon, okay, and green Pentagon next bar, you buy around here, right? If you exited here, at least you still made about 3% or 2%. Right now, you are under the money, all right? So again, Lai, I think Lai, you're not a member of our masterclass member, right? So it's okay, right? Because you haven't been really well trained yet. Now, if you've been well trained following our coaches and also our thing, then you'll be, this is the point I'm saying. So you gotta go back to live when you bought the Hexa, share with us, your trading plan. What was your trading plan? Now remember, every Monday when we do our trading, we show you where we went in. So instead of being in the money, you're out the money. Something is good. Thank you for sharing today. Appreciate it. All right. Let's go on to the next one here. Okay, there's no stocks to look at. Let's go on to the other chat room. Okay, Miss Lee wanted me to look at Heng Yuan. Okay, we got Vernon here, got a couple of stocks there. All right, and let's look at Heng Yuan. Now, Heng Yuan pretty good. You can see at Green Pentagon, if you have bought it here, there was no closing and the market continued to move up. So this looks pretty good. And remember, oil and gas is coming back of the recovery in here. It seems to be the old economy. That's pretty good. And for Vernon, you're giving me 3 stocks. Unfortunately, for today, I'll just look at 1. And of course, do give us a feedback on our SMARTRobie apps inside. I really appreciate if we have done a very good job for you in here. And so we will put you into our first priority list, like many of our members, like KK Lim, Grace, KKL, Richie, Invest, Vernon, and we'll definitely review your stocks. Yeah. So we'll look at the PPHB. PPHB, public packaging. Public packaging seems to be holding up now. It's very important, very critical level. The market did go up. If you've gone in here, up trust, you can see 2 up trusts. Then the market came back down, and it is at this point of ATR. If the market do break down, I think it's better to exit. This one it's not ready yet. Apparently, there was a lot of sellers coming in here. As soon as the market go up, you have this upthrust. Now, it's also important for you, Vernon, to study what we call pullback, and that's something we usually teach a lot in our master class. Okay, for you to consider. Okay, so let's go on to okay. Koo has another one. Asia Ply. Asia Poly. So Asia Poly not so good lah. Very simple only, alright. You look at it, yellow Pentagon, market go down. Broke through ATR stop loss, need to be out. Else go down some more, no. So at the end of the day, I always ask Koo. Hopefully, Koo, you are one of our masterclass member. If you are, our coaches will continue to push it in our Telegram. If you're not, something for you to consider. Now you have to ask yourself, this stock, do you want to hold it or not? It's all part of your trading plan, as I talked about, whether you still want to hold it or not, short term or longer term in here. Right now, all things indicating is turning south. Doesn't look that pretty good. Okay, I think it's already important. Some of you who have been with us for some time, and you see yourself, why I buy the stock continue to go down. What is, what's the main reason behind it, right? And we here at Trade VSA continue to update you and continue to coach you in many ways that we can in our breakfast show. So, okay, that's all we have for this morning here. And we're going to move on to last part. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Trade VSA, so you get all our information in there. And don't forget to submit your best stocks. Those of you, I think some of you, Miss Lee, you have put in some right stocks just now. Do submit to this. At least grab 50 ringgit voucher. We are here to give, right? But yet we have only received very trickle only. And if your best submission, right, have a chance to win, an iPad will be definitely given to you. All right, something for you to share and keep you happy in here. So submit everybody, and the 50 Grab vouchers, 50 ringgit Grab vouchers is available for all. All the terms and conditions, just go over to SMARTRobie login and check out on the inbox. Okay, and if you are first time, do check out our Telegram for all information, and do share this with your friend so they can benefit from the education that we talk about, not only KLSE, but soon, probably next month, on the US market. As US market continue to go higher, where the technology merges, you're able to diversify to more than just one market. Thank you for coming this morning inside. I hope you all learned something this morning in here, and definitely make my day more enjoyable. Have a good rest. Selamat Hari Raya to all my Muslim friends inside here. Continue to have a good festival. Enjoy yourself. I'll see you next Monday. Bye-bye.